That's horrible. Second off, let me ask you a question. When Lil Wayne came out with the song "Hey Mr. Carter," you got to be singing that in the whip, right?
Yeah, no. It was nonstop. Like it's only Lil Wayne is Jay-Z affiliated with the best name of all time. But yeah, it's insane, absolutely insane how many times Carter gets brought up with the famous hip hop artist. I wish I used to do some freestyling back in the day, but I wish I had a Flaw J in me for you right now, but I don't, and not anymore at least. Huh?
I gotta be honest. I think I write some really dope lyrics.
Okay, well we could do a freestyle battle here one day. So,
No, because when I get in freestyles, I accidentally, I get so self-conscious of myself, I start roasting the person in front of me. So I tell everybody to stay clear.
You could roast me off. Blake, I did stand up for 5 years. I've been called everything under the sun. Okay. I had the biggest bully teammates in both football. I would love for you to roast me, or you could roast your comments. You could do a full Harry Mack session if you wanted to.
So what you're saying is that we should have a roast session, Carter Bryant style.
You want to know what's funny? I actually never did a roast in stand up. I don't know why. I love writing jokes and all that stuff, but I never actually did one. I guess I might be too nice for it, but I think you would be a pretty vicious roaster. You have no filter. If you really let loose, I think you could do it, man.
Yeah, I did that earlier on the Ruffino and Joe show. I called a guy who's a Texas fan. I said he drives up a jacked up truck with a small penis. That's what the entire state of Texas is like. So I mean, I do think I could roast, but who I do think is still getting roasted here. This is probably a horrible segue into this.
That's fine.
I'm starting to have some concerns about this secondary for LSU football from things I'm hearing.
Yeah, I mean, there's no other way around it, Blake. It's a big concern. It's something that, I care deeply about LSU football, almost too much. And when you make this like your life, you just think about these things nonstop.
Yeah.
And I've heard basically the same thing you have. And look, the good thing is players do get better year to year, right? But for the LSU secondary to be great next year, it's going to take multiple guys from last year's secondary who really struggled to take those leaps, right? And it could happen, right? Like Cordell Flott had one of the biggest leaps you'll ever see from his year 2 to year 3 after a good, first year in Dave Aranda's system. He was just getting moved around in systems, multiple systems. So maybe that's the thing with the LSU secondary. And once they get their feet under them and they get the new coaching from C. Ray and Blake, they take that next leap. But Blake, it's tough. It's really, really, really tough. And hopefully Garrett Nussmeier can win LSU a lot of shootouts next year.
The question becomes is how good is he? So, I mean, the question that we had last year was, or the thought that a lot of LSU fans had last year was when Jaden Daniels was lighting this secondary up, okay, was it that Jaden Daniels was like, oh, man, well, Jaden Daniels, oh, no way. These guys in the media are making this up. Wait, did they just say Jaden Daniels was lighting up the secondary? There's no way. And we thought maybe it was because Jaden Daniels was just really good, but a part of it, yes, obviously was that. But another thing is this secondary did suck. So yeah. I just look at and say, how good can Garrett Nussmeier be? Carter, one thing that I do think that gets lost in not translation, something that gets lost that we talk about a lot, but not enough. What they're doing, what Brian Kelly is assembling right now for this 2025 recruiting class is absolutely insane.
Yeah, so I watched Tyler Miller's highlight. I've not watched any full games or anything like that, and that kid is very impressive. And it's amazing how many top 100 offensive linemen Brian Kelly has gotten. And these are traditionally, Blake, these top 100 out-of-state offensive linemen. These guys normally turn out pretty well for LSU, right? And some of them aren't spectacular, like an Austin Deculus, if you will, or, an Ed Ingram was in that range. But a guy like Ethan Posick was spectacular, right? You've got offensive line, it's the bread and butter of your program. And every bit of transfer portal data that is out there, Blake, proves that offensive lineman is the one position that you've got to recruit out of high school, right? There's just not many good ones in the portal every year, right? The good offensive linemen in the portal are the hot girls at the bar, man. Everybody wants them, right? And you wouldn't normally think that, but it's just the truth. So that's why you've got to rebuild your offensive line every year. And it's really impressive, Blake, to do this after you brought in 6 offensive linemen out of high school in this last crop. So you're getting guys that come in that really want to compete for roles. So really excited about Tyler. Hopefully, Micah DeBose and a few of these other guys follow suit. But that's obviously going to be tough to get even more top 100 guys. But you never really know with Brian Kelly and what he's done with recruiting the offensive line.
Well, I mean, I know we're not high on this because it's aside the football, but Carter, they got 2 top 100 guys on the defensive line in last year's recruiting class.
Yeah.
So I had to start asking you the obvious question here. Carter, if you recruit this high of a level, okay, I'm not trying to put pressure on Brian Kelly, but hey, now, I want playoff. I mean, you can't recruit like this and not make the playoff year one.
Yeah, Blake.
Of the expansion, I should say.
Right. So I will say this about the 2025 crop. I am not, the absolute best recruiting wizard, but this 2025 crop looks like a Georgia-Alabama recruiting class, right? Normally, LSU is in that top 5 after those 2. That's how it's been mostly over the past 5 to 10 years, Blake. This class looks like it's going to be the number 1 class in 2025. And that is so hard to do if everything goes the way that it's supposed to go.
And you're not doing it like the way A&M did. You're not just going and buying guys. Like, guys are wanting to be here.
Yes. And, when I talked to Xavier Atkins about this a few weeks ago, that's what he basically told me. It was like, guys really want to be a part of this team. And he specifically mentioned Brian Kelly and Blake Baker as guys that's really, really stood out to him. So I'm really excited about the future. Blake, I'll call it like it is. I'm a big LSU fan, but I try to be as objective as I possibly can. This 2025 crop does feel like a Georgia-Alabama crop obviously Bryce Underwood steals the headlines, as he should. He's the highest-ranked LSU recruit of all time if everything goes according to plan.
Well, shit, so is almost DeCorian Moore.
Yeah, DeCorian Moore, the trajectory he's on, he will be the best LSU wide receiver prospect ever. But just according to recruiting rankings, I'm not saying they're going to be the best LSU players ever, but it's insane. It gives you chills, and it gets you really excited about what Brian Kelly is doing with this program and what, all the recruiting staff, the people behind the scenes are doing. So really pumped up about that. And that's what you have to do to win national championships.
It's funny if they get the DJ Pickett kid or Pickett from the corner.
It's insane.
Are we just not having right conversations?
Yeah, I honestly, like, LSU always recruits good. So
we've never recruited like this.
Yeah, it's there's been some classes that have been kind of sort of like this. Like, obviously, the 2014 class felt like this when you got Fournette and Jamal and those guys, but this does feel different. Feels
so one-ish.
Right. Yeah, it really feels like LSU will be the number 1 class. So really, really pumped up about what Brian Kelly is doing. Folks, it's really hard to do this, right? Obviously, LSU is always going to recruit itself. It's a brand. It'll always be a top 10 recruiting class. It'll always more than likely be a top 5 recruiting class. But now this group feels different, okay? And that really excites me. It really, really, really does. Now, obviously, you still need to develop. You still need to hit on some portal needs every year. but it's starting to feel like Brian Kelly is getting to that point where you can look at a program like LSU and feel like you must make the playoff every year.
Who's your breakout player for this team that we're not talking about?
Yeah, so let's discuss a few, Blake. One for me is DJ Chester, right? He's going to be the big key at the center position. And we talked about him briefly last week. Hopefully, he continues his rise. You look at a tracking company like Sports Information Solutions. They actually had Charles Turner as the best center in the SEC. I didn't feel that way, but I felt Charles Turner was really good. So Chester does have big shoes to fill after Charles had a mostly good season last year. As far as breakout defensively, I really do like Whit Weeks. I think he can be a good fit in the Blake Baker defense. And obviously the question is going to be, does he start? Is he able to start? Because it does look like right now it's Greg Penn and Harold Perkins' job to lose. And I do think there'll be packages where all three will be on the field, at the same time. So I'm really looking at those two guys. Blake, I like players taking huge jumps from year one to year two, because what we like to do is try and predict who the true freshman standout is going to be, because it's the new thing. We're used to seeing them in the recruiting, cycles, and they're on the tip of our head. But really, where your program takes next steps is your year one guys making that huge leap into year two. And that's where we normally see the ascension of the true greats. So hopefully we see that from those two players in particular, and hopefully we see it from a few of the other guys. Deshaun Womack, a top 100 guy, when he played, he had his hot and cold moments. He had a really hot game versus Arkansas, had some tough moments versus Wisconsin, but he's a guy that pretty well. He's a top 100 guy out of, a very prestigious program in Maryland. And hopefully he takes that massive leap. So there's plenty of guys. Kamarion Pimpton's another one, but I would focus in on those year one guys making that jump into year two.
All right, I want to say with Deshaun Womack. What have you seen of him so far? Or let me ask you this: what's your take on him going into year two?
Yeah, he could be the guy that benefits the most from Blake Baker being there, right? Blake's done a really good job at Missouri molding these kind of tweener type of ends that are in that build, like this 240 to 250 build. Number 6, who was our end, he's a really good draft prospect. His name was the best defensive lineman at the Senior Bowl.
What's so wild about all that? Dude was one of the slowest defensive ends in the combine.
Right. And he was a really well-rounded player. And he set the edge on the LSU Missouri defense. You're going to need someone like Deshaun to do that for you next year. So that excites me. Obviously, getting 2 new defensive line coaches, Peoples and Davis, or two new defensive line coaches, those guys will hopefully mold him to be a better player next year. And that was something that Brian Kelly even mentioned, Blake, in press conferences last year, that, Deshaun is growing. He's still learning. And hopefully you see that next year, because LSU really needs it. They need Savion Jones. They need some guys that'll step up, set the edge defensively, because last year they were just not good at it, and it killed them. It really did.
Yeah, and I think it's obviously the big argument too with what's going on with Perkins, because a lot of people want him out there because of the issues that you had there. Let me ask you this question. What are your thoughts about Matt McMahon going into ending year 2 of his reign? They went to an NIT. I think this is more like a year 1 for him, for me. Yeah. I know a lot of people don't like that, but that's where I got Matt McMahon. Hey, man, look, in a year 1 type scenario, you got to an NIT. So I think it's a win for a year.
I do, Blake. I'm more of a process of a results guy, and I agree with you. The year 1 with what he had to do to take over from Will Wade, and that being an overly controversial, transition, I would be patient, but at the same time, Blake, there was long periods of time where this team just had, and I understand college basketball, Blake, is a game of runs, right? there are long periods of time, though, where the LSU basketball team just forgot to play basketball, right?
But get down 15 and storm all the way back.
Right. Like, for instance, I know this isn't a big game in the grand scheme of things, and we'll forget this game probably a week from now, but the Missouri game, you're crushing a really bad team. And then at the end, it's a sweat, right? You just have these long periods of time. You get blown out by a bad Arkansas team in a game that you really needed to win. And there was just games like that where it just concerned you, right? But he does deserve another year. And this is my favorite thing about Matt McMahon, okay? And I've said my piece on your channel. I've said my piece on my channel. At least he's self-aware, right? I was so sick and tired of these coaches, high and tidy, just shitting on the NIT, okay? Thinking that they're above the NIT. Chris Beard, Mike Woodson, give me a freaking break. I'm so glad Matt McMahon said, look, I, as a coach, need tournament experience. This is another game that we could play on campus. Let's freaking go. Let's play this game. And I'm glad that he did that, because he could have said, look, F this group of seniors. We're going to go on the trail and recruit, and we're going to worry about next year, like all the other coaches said. So I get, if Matt McMahon, if you're watching this, I doubt you are. You're probably busy getting ready for tomorrow. I give you credit for at least stepping up for your team and giving them at least one last game.
Yeah, I mean, this could be Trey Hannibal's last game.
Exactly. I mean, that pissed me off. It pissed me off to no ends when you have Chris Beard saying, "Oh, okay, we're not going to do it. We're just not. Play it, okay." I can understand Rick Pitino saying Rick Pitino is one of the greatest coaches of all time at St. John's, but even Rick Pitino, you're not above the NIT. You're not. Your team wasn't good enough to make a 68-team field. And Blake, I've heard it. I've heard it all week. Well, guess what? Our bid got stolen because there's all these conference championship upsets. F that. You're bidding it. There's 68 teams and there's 50 gazillion regular season games. And they want to say, well, we got our bid stolen, so we're just going to, no, F that. Play the NIT.
Kareem Abdul-Jabbar from Indiana State, they did have their bid taken away. Indiana State should be in the postseason.
You're hammering hard for the Fighting Larry Birds. I like that. Indiana State being back in the tournament.
Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, they have a center. Dude wears glasses. He looks like the white Kareem Abdul-Jabbar.
Oh, okay, number 21. Yeah, I know what you're talking about. I love it.
They should be in the big dance. But because they lost late, it punished them.
But let me ask you this, okay? And I want you to be honest, because 10 years we would be lying to ourselves. But this tournament just feels off. It really does.
Can I be 1,000% honest with you?
Yeah, go ahead.
It is what it is. I'm gonna have fun watching it.
Yeah,
I'm gonna have fun watching like upsets happen. Could care less.
And I hate it because a lot of my closest like media buddies are big college basketball guys. Cole Adams, Aaron Torres. I mean, a lot of these guys that are really good at covering the sport. I honestly, and this isn't just some comment to get likes or whatever. And I understand my team is in this tournament and not the other. I care about the women's tournament. I really do. Okay. And I have gotten more involved with college basketball, obviously calling games. So I'm more involved with what I'm doing with that instead of, watching a lot of D1 Power 5 men's college basketball. But dude, this tournament, like all of my buddies that we normally do a bracket, nobody in the group chat says, hey, let's start a bracket. I'm doing a bracket challenge with the PHL, with my PHL folks. Not as excited about it as they were last year. So I'm just being honest, Blake. The women's game has surpassed the men's. I'm not going to say that it's going to have better ratings. I'm not going to say
it is having better ratings.
Yeah, well, on the higher end, it definitely is. And I'm not going to say that I'm not going to enjoy the hell out of this year's NCAA tournament. I will. Okay, last year's tournament was one of the best tournaments I'll ever have in terms
very
of
fun. Last year was very fun.
But it just feels different. That's all I will say about it.
College baseball is becoming everything that college basketball used to be.
I want to hear this. Go ahead. Let me hear you.
Oh, okay. That's really all I had. But
No. Expound. I'm excited.
I just think that the game is growing so rapidly for college baseball. I do think baseball right now, from a younger aspect, is much cooler now. I have a 4-year-old son, and like my friends that are older than me or had kids before I did. A lot of them were like soccer and basketball, and that was their big sport. Even my nephew, my 12-year-old nephew, massively big into basketball. Carter, everything that I'm seeing around the Southeast, I do just believe that college baseball is going to continue to be and grow to what maybe college-based basketball once has been. I just don't think that men's basketball right now is in a healthy spot. Okay.
Yeah.
I really don't. And I'm going to say another hot take. They're going to really be bad off when LeBron leaves.
What do you mean? What do you mean?
Carter, he's to almost, if I'm not mistaken, I saw a thing from TNT. He's 45% of their viewership.
Oh, you're talking about the NBA.
Yeah, well, I'm just saying in general, one man cannot be 45% of your viewership, Carter.
Yeah.
It can't happen. So, and let me tell you this, another thing, going to women's basketball.
That's it.
Women's basketball almost ended college athletics. You want to hear my logic?
Let's hear it.
Fox almost gave the white Larry Bird, that's a woman, okay?
Oh, Caitlin, yeah.
Caitlin Clark, they almost gave her TV revenue share money if she were to stay and come back to school.
Okay. Yeah, I heard that, yeah.
Do you realize what that would have done if she would have signed that overnight for college football? It would have ended the sport.
Yeah,
or it would have definitely postponed it.
Are you going to say like Carson Beck's going to say, "Hey, I want a piece of this"? Is that your point?
I don't know if Carson Beck would, but I think that there's, who might? Travis Hunter, Shedeur Sanders might have.
Yeah, I could see that. I could definitely see that.
And so there comes a point in all this, Carter. Women's basketball needs to take a little step back. They're trying to do some things that I think affect everything else. Just chill for a minute. If she would have signed that deal, Carter, college football would have been in massive trouble. You get where I'm going with here? Like,
no, I'm with you. I didn't think about that. That's why I love coming on your show, man. You think outside the box. Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see.
What do you think about that?
It's honestly going to come down to for women's college basketball as far as their star power. Will one of these younger players take like a Caitlin Clark leap? So like, let's say like Hannah Hidalgo at Notre Dame or Juju Watkins.
Juju Watkins
at USC, yeah, or Michaela Williams at LSU. If one of them could take like a superstar leap and be as good as Caitlin Clark, then yeah, like Caitlin is just like such a transcendent player that it might just be like a one-time thing. But you still got Angel Reese, you still got Kim Mulkey and Don Staley and these superstar coaches. And the men's game has lost Coach K. The men's game lost Jim Boeheim. Wouldn't shock me if Tom Izzo hangs it up. There's these legendary coaches.
Some are thinking that Izzo's hanging it up after this one, right?
It wouldn't shock me. Jay Wright would be the best coach in the sport.
That might be the reason why men's college basketball is taking a decrease. All the Hall of Famers left. And you know what? Same things happen in college football too, by the way.
Yeah. And yeah, I think, and one more thing I'll say about college baseball. I always say when people watch our channel, I do not watch enough LSU baseball to break it down.
Boo!
I wish I was as talented as you to be able to watch all these games. I will tell you this though. All right. Some of the best viewing experiences I had was when college baseball did like the ESPN did like their red zone of college baseball during the Super Regionals.
Oh God,
dude, that made me erotic. I was like, I've never loved baseball this much. Because like I was like, I'm really enjoying like this red zone action of
Jesus
these.
Christ, OnlyFans, calm
Yeah,
down, Big
dude,
John
it,
Bell.
it really was like an amazing, because like it was happening really fast. It was just baseball here, baseball here, baseball here. So I love it, man, and I like the direction that college baseball is heading, and the scholarship limitations and so on and so on just make
Gotta be
it.
fit.
Yeah, it's got to be fixed, but it does make every team freaking loaded. I mean, there's so many really, really, really talented players in college baseball right now, and you got all these really good coaches and teams. The next thing is it's going to be hard to replace the star power that left, right? Like I'm hearing that Wyatt Langford is like for real the next great thing in Major League Baseball, and then we know Dylan Cruz and Paul Skeens are going to be great.
Yeah,
So,
like, dude, Wyatt. People forget how good Wyatt Langford is. He's going to be in the big leagues really soon. But you know what else? I'm hearing that they might expand 11.7 to probably like I've heard they want to do like a round number like 15, 16, 17. If they go to 16, 17, if you think super teams like LSU are loaded now or like they were last year, give them more scholarship money.
yeah.
Yeah. You know what? Jay Johnson's going to be taking a dump in a paper bag and lighting it on fire and ringing your doorbell.
I mean, he gets on the trail. Man, every interview Jay Johnson does, he's recruiting.
Everyone. I tell you what, I've never seen him this stressed. I think we haven't gotten this with Brian Kelly yet because Brian Kelly is still a little bit introverted, I feel like. I think we got a lot of his personality. He's not like Jay. I feel like of all the coaches right now, I mean, I know who Kim Mulkey is. That doesn't mean I feel like I'm learning more about Jay each and every day because he's had so much success that you've not really seen him hit adversity all the time. And with that being said, at some bit, bro, he was pissed this weekend. My man was super pissed. And I tell you, when that vein popped out of his neck, it reminded me of a young Saban, dude. I swear to God.
Yeah. So your chat can enlighten me. Are you worried, or is it just early season?
I'm not. Well, here's what I am truly. Am I worried? No. Am I monitoring? Yes. Because I will tell you this. LSU last year, the national champion winners, lost to Auburn, okay, in back-to-back games, lost the series on the road to Auburn, came home, lost to Mississippi State. They got run-ruled by Auburn, and that was just a regional team, like run-ruled on a Sunday. They got their asses spanked. They got bent over, and we had an STDDB, okay, for Auburn, okay, like suck that tiger dick, I mean, so – the bottom line becomes, am I worried? No, because we saw one of the greatest transformations of a bullpen when they got to Omaha. The problem is, okay, they're just not playing good in a lot of areas. Like at least you knew the one area that you were struggling in last year for LSU baseball. Like you're just struggling when Paul Skeens is out of the game and Ty Floyd is erratic. I mean, and Thatcher Hurd might give up 97 runs, but somehow is going to find a way to win the game. They got a lot of inexperience, Carter. They don't look. Everybody keeps telling me that Skeens and Cruz aren't walking through that door. I don't think that. I agree with you clearly.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
But the real problem is that Cade Beloso and Gavin Dugas aren't walking through that door. Because when you have two dudes, like, bro, I'm 1,000% convinced that if even Paul Skeens stepped out of line, Gavin Dugas would uppercut him like it's Street Fighter. How you get, and everybody gets back in line. They don't have that right now. They don't have an alpha. Now, I think that Tommy Tanks, with his actions this weekend defensively, showed that. Can it translate against the team that you beat in the national title last year?
Okay. So I agree with you. I just like Cade Beloso, Paris Giambi. I love it. I freaking love it.
I told Devin Snow, who pretty much came up with that.
Yeah, he did. Yeah.
I mean, he needs to start copywriting some of these things. Like he needs to copyright eating red beans. And every time someone eats red beans, he gets a penny from it. You know how rich that kid would be if he just got a penny from every time somebody had red beans?
Or at least if people have red beans on Monday. At least if it's just it's red beans day.
We always had spaghetti at my house on Mondays.
Right.
That we had red beans and rice.
I love it.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
No, I do agree with Hakeem. The NBA does have a lot of young stars, and I think Wemby could be that next LeBron if he continues. This is our guy, Adam Ahmed. I think this is the Inter Milan. I knew he would come in with that when I knew he would do it. I'm not even gonna bring up what he wants to talk about.
Did your Liverpool lose?
I'm not gonna get into that. We're fine. So just to give
what was the thing with you and Hester this weekend?
Oh, that was
was that when in reference to it, his team won and yours lost?
No. Ironically, our arch rivals were actually supposed to play on Sunday, but Liverpool advanced in the tournament and they had to cancel the arch rival, and Liverpool had to play another one of their rivals. And they
Can I tell you something, dude? Yeah. I don't know one player that plays for Liverpool.
And you shouldn't. Okay. You probably only know Messi and Ronaldo. And they don't even play in this league.
Pele, bitch.
you can't do not lie to me. You know who Messi and Ronaldo are.
Oh, absolutely.
Okay, so every human being should know who those two guys are because they're the biggest sports stars on the planet. But
yeah, I mean, I'm not that awful. I will tell you, when I went to Thailand for 2 months when I was in college, we played soccer the whole time, and I was awful. I've never been that bad of an athlete at something. They put me at goalie, and the Thai guy said, "You big, round, black goal. Big, round, black goal."
But it's a hard sport. I'm still the slowest player ever on my high school team. My coach looked at me and said, "You're too slow to play." And it took me practicing every day to learn every little role. But no, it was to your question, it was a great part. I didn't know Jake was going to be there. And we had a great, obviously, conversation. I DJ'd a disco this weekend, and I met for my country.
Like you're Italian, you should be an Inter fan with me and
No, you're not gonna be an Inter fan. No, come on. We're not doing.
I want to support the Italianos.
Okay, there's plenty of Italian clubs you can support. You can support Juventus. You could support AC Milan. You could support.
Who's the New York Yankees of the Italians?
Oh, that would be Juventus or AC Milan. Inter is probably like
the Boston Red Sox.
Yeah, probably so. Like they're a great team, but they're not.
So what you're telling me is I need to get some Juventus gear.
Yeah, but that's kind of like front running. See, Liverpool is like.
So that's basically like me bandwagoning on Alabama's success the last couple of decades.
Yeah. So.
Oh, I'm 1,000% on board.
Okay,
I'm 1,000% on board here.
So Adam would agree with me here. All right, Liverpool and LSU are the equivalents of each other.
My God! So your favorite soccer team is a lot like LSU. God bless your soul.
It just happened to be that way. Like Liverpool is very successful. LSU is very successful. Liverpool has won the biggest trophy you can win. LSU has won the biggest trophy you can win. We haven't won as much as Alabama. We haven't won as much as historically as Michigan or whoever. But we're still an all-time great team that is very current, has an unbelievable rabid fan base. And guess what? Everybody wants to be Liverpool because Liverpool's got a cool coach. They've had cool players. And that's why you should be an LFC fan, the best club.
Okay. Well, I don't know about that. I'm gonna support the Italianos.
Okay.
All right. Part of the Power, Brian. You have a show coming up, correct? In about 7 minutes, or no, about 3 minutes.
No, I don't.